Hello, folks. Thank you for choosing to join me for this topic this morning out of all your many choices, helping your clients avoid the dark side of retirement. That was a fun title to make up. Brief introduction of me. I've been retired from Wake Forest University for almost 4 years now. I left that job to do something else. I can trace my interest in this topic back to 2006 when I did a seminar called Career-Related Retirement Planning. I was really interested in career planning, but then a friend of mine who had retired recommended a book called Don't Retire, Rewire, which said, you know, this is what's next for you. It's not what are you retiring from, it's what are you retiring to. And so after I retired, I continued my interest in this topic. I have collected every book possible. And then I went and got my certification as a certified professional retirement coach, which I keep with my counseling degree, and now focus on helping people plan for what is often ignored when you're going to retire. Every retirement book and seminar pretty much focuses on the financial. So everybody knows they have enough money or they don't have enough money or they need to work or they don't, but they haven't given much thought to the non-financial aspects of retirement planning because it is a major transition. So what do you mean by the dark side of retirement? So now I'm going to attempt to share my screen. We'll see how this goes. Now, hopefully you can see the PowerPoint. Yes? Yes? The first thing I wanted to ask, if I were in person, I would say, how many people are attending this for personal reasons? How many people are attending this more for professional reasons? And how many people are attending this? Probably a little bit of both. And so that would be so much fun for me to know. So what do you mean retirement? Hooray. I don't have to get up anymore. I don't have to get to the office anymore. I don't have a to-do list. I can do whatever I want to do. What do you mean a dark side of retirement? Well, and some people never face this, but there are many things that work provides us with beyond a paycheck. And so after a few months, many people find that the novelty of being on permanent vacation may be wearing off. That instead of feeling free and relaxed, they're a little bit anxious and bored and aimless and maybe depressed and certainly isolated. People who retired during this pandemic, and record numbers did so, faced an additional layer of difficulty on inventing their next life. So what characterizes the dark side of retirement? These are some of the things: stress and anxiety, boredom, no reason to get out of bed, lack of structure, depression. I read one depressing survey that said the incidence of self-depression can go up 40% in the first years. Possible substance abuse. Why the hell not? I'm not going anywhere. Let's have a glass of wine 5 o'clock somewhere, isn't it? Isolation, loneliness, maybe a sense of uselessness. I have so much to give now, but am I relevant? Partners in relationship, problems in relationship with your partner. That was a whole different seminar. Honey, I'm home forever. That's a lot of fun. Suddenly you're together a lot. We'll touch on that a little bit. And decline in overall health. Another depressing survey said that retired people, especially those in the first year of retirement, are 40% more likely to experience a heart attack or stroke than those who keep working. I love this reliable sources. I should be able to cite that source, but it still is scary. Now, another way to look at the retirement side is struggling to switch off from work mode and relax, especially in the early weeks. Feeling anxious about having more time on your hands but less money to spend. Finding it difficult to fill all those extra hours with meaningful activity. Big one here, losing your identity. If you're no longer a counselor or a teacher, who are you? What do you do? Is the first thing we ask people. Well, I'm retired, but I used to, is an answer that most people aren't very happy with, and we can help them move past that. Sometimes you feel isolated without the social interaction of being around your coworkers. You liked them and you didn't like them, but there sure was a lot going on. How useful, important, or self-confident you may feel, and adjusting your routine or maintaining your independence now that you're home all the time with your spouse. I like this little graph about the stages of retirement. It's coming from a book that's at the end of your bibliography at the end of recommended readings. I've probably collected 20 books. I picked out 5 that I think you may really enjoy if you're a beginner. Full Stop Retirement, The Honeymoon Stage. Yippee! Oh, that's B. That's jumping up and down. You can sleep in. You can play as much golf as you want. You can visit the grandkids as much as you want. You can knock things off of that to-go list, to-do list that's been there. That generally lasts about a year. There are some folks who can stay in this full honeymoon stage for their whole retirement. Drake calls these comfort-oriented individuals who are happy to lead a life of leisure. They're putterers. They can find plenty of stuff to do. Those are not the clients for you who you're trying to help. They're happy. They're fine. So not everybody needs our help. Then here we have that slide down into retirement hell, that poor little man at sea. He's, most life feels kind of meaningless. They're not prepared for the letdown. The days seem empty. Most people in their life cannot empathize with the situation that they're in. So they don't understand what you're going through. How could you not love this, being able to be retired? And that's when sometimes you try to nip the pain by drinking or watching endless TV. This is where a counselor can help a retiree nip this in the bud. This is where the retiree on the way up starts to find replacements for those important elements of life that work gives us. And then D, back into retirement heaven. I recommend this little book. It's kind of fun to find one written from a man's point of view too. So the first personality types, let's talk just a little bit about who might be more susceptible to the dark side. Circumstances make a difference. If your job was mentally and physically draining, or you were burned out or unfulfilling, retirement feels great. Some people ask me, why are you retiring? And I said, I'm retiring because I'm tired. Now, if on the other hand, you loved your work, you found it gratifying and your social life was kind of built around your work, there may be some sterner challenges for you. If your retirement was not voluntary, then you may have sterner problems still. Your basic outlook on life can make a difference. If you tend to have an optimistic, positive viewpoint, you're likely to handle this transition better than if you're prone to worry or have struggled with transitions in the past. So that will give you a hint as to who might be a candidate and may need your help. Comfort-oriented individuals versus growth-oriented individuals, that comes a la Drake. The ones who can stay there the whole time, happy they don't have to work. But once the growth-oriented ones have finished everything on their to-do list, some trouble may start. Gender. Men generally have a harder time with the retirement transition and can waste a lot of years watching TV and living in denial rather than try to figure things out. And I'm sorry I'm picking on men because my calls don't come by the men. And by the way, Mike Drake says this too, from a male's point of view. Men are less likely to ask for help. But so most of my calls are coming from the wives and the daughters who want somebody to help or fix their father or their husband. And I work with them on how to get this person, of course, to reach out on their own, because as we know, people have to ask for help first. So, and also the The degree in which one's identity is defined by their work makes a difference. I recently saw something that said, think of your work as a circle and your life as a circle. Now, if they're apart, then I don't think you're going to have as much problem with the transition. If they touch, or if your life and your work are like this, you're very likely to have more trouble and be more susceptible to the dark side. So now we'll get into the meat of the performance. What does work provide us beyond the paycheck? First, work provides us with a structured routine, a place to go and something to do 5 or more days a week. Okay. It also provides us with social connection and support, built-in social connection and support. If you're thinking about retiring yourself, or if you have a client who has retired or is thinking about retirement, how many friends do you have outside of work is a really good question. Because a lot of people who work all the time don't have that much of a network of friends, or they have some friends that are fringe friends that they might want to start now building more connection with. And if you move, we'll go into that's kind of hard to do these days with COVID, as the friends I see. Work also provides us with a sense of accomplishment and engagement. Check that off the list. It's done. It's great. Thank you very much. Yes, I thank you for your compliments. I did do a good job on that report. And last but not least, the sense of personal worth, identity, and contribution. Who are you if not your role? So the best way to avoid the dark side of retirement, I say, is to urge clients to spend some time before they retire to consider how are they going to replace these 4 elements. And those are the main seminars that I provide for continuing education venues and social clubs, etc. What I'm going to do now, hopefully, is I have some exercises linked that I can pull up. Most of them pull up fine. But what I'm going to do is put together a booklet, because it wouldn't let me post all of these, of activities for you. And at the end slide, I will show you an email address. So if you email me, then I will send you a booklet that contains all of the exercises used for the rest of this presentation, and they're public domain, and you can use them with your clients or yourself. The person I practice with said, please send them to me. I want to fill them out myself, and that made me smile. So first, let's go to lack of a structured routine. First, I'm ahead of schedule. So I could take a question or two right now if you wanted me to. Matt, do you see anything that we could stop for a second and it's come across, Matt?
Sorry, say that again?
I said, I'm a little bit ahead of schedule, so I could take a question or two that's already in the chat if you see one.
Let's see. A lot of the chat is just commentary on the presentation. Someone did ask, I'm hoping you will speak to the grief of retirement. I think you touched on a little bit of that in the beginning of your presentation.
Yeah, because it is a grieving of a loss. It is. Boy, there's so much on this topic. It's fascinating. I urge you to dig into it more. Okay, well, let me go ahead then with time management. What do you mean time management? That's what I wanted to get away from. A major blessing of retirement is I no longer have to punch a time clock or cram all my personal errands into the weekend. However, there's something comforting about a routine. Most people build themselves a routine on vacation, some more than others. Some people are more planners than others, take that into account. But a little bit of time management helps with the question, what will I do all day? And seems to increase folks' happiness. So this one list comes from 10 Tips for Managing Your Time in Retirement by Mary Ellen Laponzi. Here's some of the things she suggests. Organize your activities on a daily or weekly basis, not hour by hour. My husband likes to sit down on a Sunday and make a big list of the things he'd like to do on the weekend. The next week. And then each morning he picks some on that list to attack. I'm still quite a planner, so I have several different lists, and mine are more like by category. Like, here's my home things, here are my friends things, here's my professional things, here's my fitness things. And so it gives me a loose idea. Now, the list part, some people like to make their list the night before, so they wake up and they have some idea of what they want. Some people like to make it in the morning. I do with my first cup of coffee. However, that list, number 3, in retirement can be very flexible. And folks who have to have an hour by hour plan, and if some people build it that way, you might need to give them an article like the one posted at the bottom, in defense of the not so busy retirement, to see if that would help. If making this too tight the way it used to be makes them feel anxious. Because the truth is, you're flexible now. If you want to move something from the morning to the afternoon, if you want to move something to tomorrow, if you want to remove something totally, it's totally up to you. So the flexibility of moving things around is joyous. Rhythm. Kind of talk to your client about, are you a morning person or an afternoon person? When do you have most of your energy? Most of my energy is in the morning. So if I have a big project like working on this presentation, I need to do it in the morning. I need to exercise in the morning, because no matter how many times I tell myself I'll do it at 3 or 4, I won't. And I have a little voice that goes, well, how did that work yesterday? Did it? No, that didn't work very well at all. What are the chances that'll work very well this time? Do you think I should be hospitalized because I'm talking to myself so much? And give yourself alternate periods of structured activity along with some free time. If you have to take a nap or read a book on your list, do it, because the chances are you will be more likely to do it. The beauty of number 6, being able to take your weekend during the week, meaning when you go to the grocery store, you run your errands, during the week, there's not as many people there, and probably some senior discounts too. If you're going to travel, the rates are lower during the week, and the venues have more availability during the week. So that's kind of fun too. The alarm clock doesn't need to be on as much too. That's kind of nice. I do have an article that I found in defense of the not so busy retirement, if wanted to send it, and it pretty much says, be careful of what you say yes to when you first retire. Because when people find out you're retired, then they offer you lots of opportunities. And so some people, my husband admits he was one of them, said yes to everything. Then he found himself busy with some things that didn't really mean a lot to him, and he had to untangle. So often I will suggest to my clients that they say no for at least 6 months and give them time to think about it. I need to go back if I can. This good life inventory, let's see if we can share it so that you can see it. I think this is a good assessment tool. New share. Do you see something called the Good Life Inventory? Thank you for nodding, Becky. You're my, Becky Boone, you're my, yes, I can see it person. And now let's see if I can make it just a little bit bigger. It covers some pretty good aspects. Again, this is going to come to you if you want it to. It covers place. It covers work. I use that lightly because some people really do want to do some other kind of work, a volunteer type of work or a paid work, maybe a part-time work, but something that gives me more flexibility and more of my life than I have now. But you can see that this is a rating sheet that could start some conversations and seems to cover most of the things on my list of what your work gives you that you don't have now. So, screen sharing, okay, we'll go back to that. Am I back on my PowerPoint, Becky? Yes, thank you. All right, so now when we did the next, this is an exercise I invented for a client called the ideal use of time circles that he found helpful. And so what it shows you is that see, I'm a technology nut. It's suggested categories and circles on what am I doing at present with my time. And some of these categories are friend and family time spent with spouse, personal pursuits and downtime, health and fitness, household maintenance, somebody had me add, service opportunities and others. And what does it look like at present? And ideally, what would I like it to look like? So it's an allocation of time that may. Am I back to the PowerPoint by any chance? Yes, I need to share it again. All right. Social connection and support. And so some of these are maybe a lightweight type of version, but thinking about what friends I have now and which ones I might want to develop. There's this little friends list thing, and it simply says, how many people in every category as you wish, then circle the number that indicates the current depth and strength of each relationship, and then place a check on the number that you kind of wish it would grow to. So it has a place for family and friends, couples, friends, current co-workers, neighbors, and anybody else. But it just makes people kind of think about their network, especially those who like to have an exercise. And that one is in your booklet as well. Back to the social network screen.
Yep.
Making friends in a new community. That advice had to be tempered, of course, because of the COVID. And so my good friend and coworker Donna Henderson's in a new area, and she has talked to me about how it's a little difficult to make friends with people in a new community because most of that comes from volunteering or going to a gym or following up your interest groups. And so hopefully as it loosens up, it'll be a little easier. And where to live is another topic that I'm not going into this time, but it's for individuals and couples is another whole topic. Tips for thriving in retirement as a couple. That is such a fun other seminar, but it is really so true that I'd like to say the basic tenets are the relationship a couple has before they retired is the relationship a couple's going to have after they retired, only amplified. The issues that exist throughout the relationship will still be there, but it might be harder to ignore with the increased time together. And so dangerous assumptions are each member of a couple gets to retirement assuming things are going to be a certain way. Neither has shared these assumptions with their partner, or has either tried to find out what their partner's views on all these issues. How much time shall we spend together? Where shall we live? Should we move to another place? Should we downsize? Etc. Each thought that things would be one way, and when it's not, they start looking for people to blame, and things do not turn out so well. So that's a book that's recommended at the end. Is called The Couples Retirement Puzzle, and they help people work through different issues and goes back to helping relationships 101 on how to listen and indicate that you heard without correcting or interrupting. And that is an important lesson for helping couples figure this out together. So lacking a sense of accomplishment and engagement, which is just a little different than who am I? So this is interests. What will I do all day? Helping people to build a list of activities before you retire, a curious list of things I might want to do or explore or learn someday. Make it as long as you can, and have your clients at whatever stage they are start to make this list as long as you can, because you don't want it to last for weeks or months, but hopefully for decades. So here's a kind of a silly template that people can use. Very small, but you can see it allows for a list, and then at the bottom it gives examples for people to just, I was surprised myself when I made one at how many things on the list I was interested in. And so then, of course, they need to select 2 or 3 that they're serious about. Are they serious about learning German? Are you serious about wanting to learn to play the piano? If so, how much time are you willing to invest, and what is your action plan? Which ones do you want to do first? Which ones do you want to do second? Some of my list resistant clients, I say, why don't we call this a things I might do someday? And they were happy with this. So that's the curious list. Mm-hmm. Pardon, folks. No matter how many times I practice, I'm going to do a little bit of this. Now, one of the opportunities that we have in retirement is taking advantage of all the lifelong learning. You know what I find the best about lifelong learning? No required readings, no tests, no assignments. Just go to, anybody heard of OLLI? It's Osher Institute for Lifelong Learning. I think there's one in the Raleigh area. There's one in the Asheville area. And they do an incredible, I would love to become an associate of theirs, and that's on my maybe I will list. Presenting topics on everything. Winston-Salem has Wake Forest Lifelong Learning. My husband's excited about a Imperial Germany course coming up next week that he and all his history buff buddies go to and make a day and lunch out of it. So what helps our minds stay sharp? Learning and stretching something new. You choose what it is, and try to go back and figure out what were you interested in that you've lost along the way too. One of the most important things is physical health. Put it on the list. If I put 11 o'clock weights, I am so much more likely to do it than if I just say, I'm going to work out today sometime. But if we don't take care of our bodies, then we are not going to have decades of life ahead, and hope that we do. This exercise well-being sheet is it's an inventory type sheet that you can help people assess. I seem to have lost my get bigger button, but it's a questionnaire. And again, you can get it from me if you want it. 3 health-related habits you plan to continue, health opportunities. 3 health-related opportunities you plan to take advantage of, things you might want to learn, see, and do. Health concerns. Everyone knows you can't pick your friends. You could pick your friends, but not your family. So what are some of your health concerns? And so put this on your list. I know I'll get a bad grade on technology. So let's move on. Redefining identity and regaining a sense of purpose. I know this is an overview, but hopefully some of the books and exercises will help you stoke your interest. So who am I if not what I do? It struck me when I was getting to retire that I was in a similar position of those seniors that used to come to my career class. And so we would work on what we were going to do. And so I would say, so you're at a party at your parents' house and people find out you're a senior at Wake Forest. And what are they going to say to you? The big question. So what are you going to do? Well, what did you say? I have no idea. I said, well, that's the wrong answer. The right answer is make up something. Say, well, either I'm interested in nonprofits to use my ability to speak French, or I am interested in, you can change it every time, but come up with some sort of answer so that you can have somebody say, oh, I know who you need to talk to. It's a networking thing. So now I tell people that I work with that I'm going to retire at the end of a year and a half. And they say to me, what are you going to do? And I'm like, oh no, here we go. It's the same darn thing all over again. And I'm going to say to you that if you can work with your clients so that after we go through several of these exercises, that they actually have an answer for that, that'll help somebody say, oh gosh, my good friend is the CEO of so-and-so, and they're looking for somebody just like you. Here's who you need to contact. Then the situations really are similar. What do I do? Now I'm able to say, I've taken my interest in career counseling. I used to be a career counselor, and now I'm a career counselor and a retirement lifestyle counselor. I work with people figuring out their transition. So it's an answer more than, oh, I'm retired from Wake Forest University. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel better about myself if I have a different answer. So possible questions to ask people about how big a part of their current life was or is their work. What activities did they enjoy in their work? What activities did they not enjoy in their work? As you talk with somebody to help them figure out. So if you could put together a list of the things you most enjoy doing, what would be on that list? Because so many of us want to do some volunteer work to continue to contribute, especially us helping professionals. But how do we find the right fit? The next 2 exercises are things that I think help people as they decide to come up with what is their right fit. And so let's see if we can look at this one without bumping out again. This is examine your motivations, how to make a living and a difference in the second part of your life. So this particular sheet says, I want an encore career, because that's who I got it from. The encore career people are terrific. And that can be volunteer or not. Earn income, be engaged, be fulfilled, have fun, give structure, use my talents in a different way, solve problems, be part of a team. What are they looking for? Feel needed, lead others, mentor others, help others. What are you looking for? And then here's my top 5. Work on an issue that matters to me. Get health insurance and benefits, maybe. Supplement my income. These kind of things allow you to pop into the part of your counseling hat that has your career. Another branch topic that I've done a lot of work on is fighting ageism in the career hunt for older people. And I remember the last slide of the last presentation I did, it said, folks, it's about to get better because demographics indicate that they need older people and they're going to be coming after us. And I think you can see that happening right now. So I stopped the whole share. Let's try going back to the PowerPoint. Now, another good thing to help people, and I sincerely hope this is being somewhat helpful and is akin to what you were looking for. What roles appeal to me as I'm trying to find my work? So it might be helpful to think about what kind of role you'd like to play. You may want to go to things that leverage your past experience. And I love this. Even if you don't know what you want, you have a real good idea of what you don't want to do. And so these are what appeals to you right now: direct service, advocacy, teaching, fundraising, program design. What role do you want to play? Are there any roles you'd like to grow into? Ha, that was a little better. Maybe I'll get it by the end of this. This purpose and life design statement, I absolutely love, and it will absolutely not share. It's a JPEG, and it's the one and only thing I did post in the site for this seminar. It the answer to the big question, because it helps you figure out what skills you want, what is the population you want to serve, and you come up with a nice little design statement of purpose and what I would like to do. So I'm going to let you take a look at that yourself, because like I said, I can't get that one to come up. It was presented in a seminar that I recently went to by a man named Rich Feller on the career counseling site. I want to use my strengths for this and my present interest in this to create an impact on this because I value this. And then at the back, there's all kinds of checklists on what your strengths are, what your values are, what your interests are. And I just think that that's a wonderful statement that you could look at as the end of your work with someone who is looking for some sort of meaning. So this is defining identity, regaining a sense of purpose. Who am I if not what I do? Going a little bit deeper. So the concept of drivers that comes from Don't Retire, Rewire is that there are certain things that you gain from your work besides money. There are certain personal motivators that someone has, and you can identify what they are. They have a list of, I think, 40 drivers in the book, and you go through and you pick out which ones are you in a gradual statement. And then it proved to be very true for my husband. Now, I know you're not supposed to use your family members in counseling or as examples, but he was getting ready to retire when I first found this book. And then I found his list of drivers 10 years from then, and he's happy in what he does. And each one of those drivers is being satisfied somehow by what he's doing. So I find that this is a deeper dive. If you had somebody, you would recommend this book. So I'm going to show you how my sample drivers list came out. And it's linked to accomplishments that got me fired up. So let's see if we can.
Just a heads up, we have about 7 minutes left.
All right, thank you. Perfect. Now, the drivers that I identified, and you don't pick the ones you think are right, you pick the ones that seem to come true. And there's descriptions that one of them was accomplishment, one of them was authority, goal setting, problem solving, recognition, and making a difference. So when I thought about some of the things that got me fired up, life, so I went all the way back to high school. I was elected governor of Tar Heel Girls State, authority and recognition. But seen as the go-to person by faculty, administration, and students in my online program, oh, that made me feel like I accomplished something. I had some authority, goals, problem solving, recognition, making a difference. You can see those are the lead author for 4 successful K-CREP accreditation studies. That is what drove me into retirement, that fourth one, I'll tell you. Accomplishment, authority, goals, problem solving, recognition, making a difference. These are the sorts of activities that this book will help you go into with your clients. That didn't work. Okay, another interesting way that's just a little bit deeper diving, and this is really the last slide before we get to questions, is Retirement Heaven or Hell says suggests that you ask your client to watch a movie of me. It takes you on your journey since childhood and makes you take stock of what made you happy and what made you want to do naturally. So childhood, what did you want to be when you grew up? What kinds of things did you like to do? How did you spend your time in free play in childhood? School years, what subjects do you really like? What subjects did you not like? What were you afraid of in school? Were you afraid of not meeting your parents' expectations? Were you afraid of choosing the wrong thing and not making a living? What were you afraid of that guided your behavior? Working years. Was your career a good fit? What did you like or dislike about that career? And if you could live it all over again, what would you do? No one can rewrite their life story, but everyone can rewrite the ending. I also went to a seminar recently by a man named Richard Leader, and he said, if you want to distill purpose, define it as give and grow. Every day give and every day grow. And I have a little sticky up here to remind myself. It doesn't take much to give. I can give by sending flowers to a friend. I can grow by trying to figure out a PowerPoint segue from one to another. So here we are at recommended resources. And if you look at the top, there's the email addresses. The Pamela Karr at Gmail is the one I use, but people tend to leave out the R and it bounces. If that happens, try the Karr PR that they've let me keep as a retiree. So that's it for content. There's a whole lot more to the story. I hope you'll become interested, because I think the number of clients that you will potentially find interested in this are many. If there are no further questions, I want to thank you for your interest. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it's a fun new career for me. So hopefully you'll see me speaking again sometime.